Hey, it is September 2nd, 2025. It is about 2 p.m. It's pretty nice out, pretty comfortable, even in the sun. So yeah, it's pretty nice out. I went by the place that I in my last video. Went nearby there and I mentioned something about, I was like, it seems like there's a lot of cars there. And it turns out, I was thinking all those cars were like people parking there, but no, it's fucking, I didn't even realize until I just came up close to it now, is that all the cars, they are, I guess, for sale or whatever, or they don't have any license plates on any of them and shit. So I guess Blue Star Cars is the company I'm seeing on some of them. Owns, I don't know if they own this lot or if they're just renting it or whatever, but they have just a shit ton of like used uh, vehicles over here. So I guess it makes sense, use the parking space for something. But so the question, where the fuck were these cars before this? Where were they storing these fucking things beforehand? And it's so weird. It's so weird looking at some of them, because some of them have like a sales, like a number, like papers in the window, in the windshield, on the windshield, or in the window somewhere, that says like what price it is, what its make and model is, and all that shit. But then others don't. Like most of them don't. It's fucking weird. Yeah, who knows where this company stored these cars beforehand? Because this shit wasn't here a few years back, not even. So that was strange to just come up here and be like, oh, these are just all fucking non-owned or whatever you want to say cars. But yeah, besides that, I was going to talk about a few things, I guess. I wasn't planning on doing any video today, and right now I was planning on cooking and baking a few things today, but I don't know, earlier this morning I realized, like, oh, my uncle's fucking coming over to finally put that door on that stupid shed that he built like a month ago. Finally put that door on it. My mom was acting fucking extra, like, neurotic and annoying today for whatever reason, so I was like, alright. I was planning, as I said, plans are always, I was planning on doing that stuff today, but I just said, fuck it. It's kind of too late now. And smell like gasoline for whatever reason. Weird. Is that gasoline? Yeah, kind of. Strange. Or almost like propane. Yeah, it's fucking weird. That, or there is a just prevalent propane smell around here, which is possible, but, so I said, fuck it, alright. Today I just won't do anything, then tomorrow I'll eat, and shit, but, I'll save that stuff for Thursday, I guess, 2 days from now, and, I'll see then, I guess, but yeah, I was gonna do that stuff today, but I was like, alright, fuck it, I don't feel like getting involved with that one downstairs, so fuck it, I don't want to be around that, I don't want to be around that shitty energy for, hours or whatever, fuck her, and fuck that, I'll do it another day. Thankfully she's finally going back to, her job, at the school, now that the school year is starting again, which will be on Thursday, and then Friday, and then presumably the week after that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, presumably. So that's good. Give that fucking miserable woman something to occupy her time with. Oh yeah, I was gonna say that too. My dad was coughing like he kind of was, sort of, this morning. And I'd been realizing that his symptoms were getting, like, kind of starting to flare up again, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I don't know if it's just due to the seasons changing, possibly, or whatever. But I basically just told him, I'm like, alright, well, you've been kind of taking your medicine that you're prescribed somewhat improperly. Instead of taking it twice a day, he was only taking it once. So I told him, alright, alright, idiot. Fucking listen to me, because you sound like shit right now. Take the fucking medication the way you're supposed to. Take it twice a day. Take it before you go to work and after you come home. And I told him also to take this other pill that he wasn't taking as well for the same stuff, the allergy shit. So I just told him, and then when he took it, maybe about an hour later, he sounded way better. But hopefully the idiot fucking isn't a stubborn moron, and he actually just takes the shit as he's supposed to, twice a day. And then once, hopefully, I don't know, the season changes more, he could go, if he wants to go back to the lower dosage, I don't know. But either way, I just told the fucking guy, hey, just fucking take it as you're supposed to, man. Stop being stupid. If you're gonna take it at all, then take it properly. Instead, take it as instructed instead of fucking around. Because clearly that's not working now, right at this moment. I mean, I've been sneezing more too, but nowhere as bad as the symptoms he's having, the like fucking wheeziness and coughing and shit. But yeah, I don't know exactly what the reason for that is. Like definitely some more allergy symptoms on my own front as well. Like I said, more sneezing and stuff like that. My eyes were itchy. Like maybe 2 weeks ago, they were getting itchy, but I haven't really had them as itchy as they were like then. But that was, I guess, the main that kind of stuff I was going to talk about. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was going to say, I just shaved my hair yesterday, or cut my hair yesterday. Fucking, I was like looking at the camera. I was like, wow, man, I really look like a fucking skinhead now. I forgot it, just how short it looks in like the sun or whatever. But I guess the main like topic I was going to talk about was kind of what Billy brought up in his like last video, or maybe 2 videos ago, and like 6 minutes or something, like 6 minutes at the end of the like 40-minute long video, where he brought up stuff like wanting to kind of form communities more, or connections with people that are in the similar kind of thing of like Misfits or whatever. It's sort of like the Misfits forming a community, or forming communities, or forming connections or whatever, that kind of thing. And it was just funny because it made me think of, for whatever reason, it made me think of like, yeah, this kind of shit is definitely not like something new, because I remember even like just from that one guy that I used to watch, what was it, Aaron Clary or whatever, I guess his company that he had was, he called it Asshole Consulting and or whatever, like Captain Capitalism or some shit like that. But that guy Aaron Clary, I remember he was kind of talking about this shit as well. And this is like all those years back when I still listened to him. And he was talking about the way that he was making like money at the time, which was with his company, his business, his online business, whatever you want to call it, his consulting business, his asshole consulting business. He was able to do basically go wherever he wanted and do what he wanted, because he wasn't like held down by a company and to stay at a specific place or whatever. So he could be kind of like more do what he wanted in terms of like, I guess, motorcycling and hiking and stuff like that. Just go where he wanted. And but with that, he also found that so many of his previous like buddies and friends, he was having more and more difficulty kind of like relating to them, but as well as just keeping those friendships or whatever maintained, as well as just keeping in any relation to their kind of like stuff as well. Um, so like he would be going to some of his buddies or some of his buddies or whatever. He'd say, "Hey man, you want to go? Let's go on like a biking trip or a hiking, like a motorcycling trip or a hiking trip or whatever." But then the guys, they would always have the excuse, "Oh, well, I got kids and I'm tired when I come home from work. I don't feel like hiking, or I can't come at that time, or whatever the fuck." But then, Aaron Clary or whatever, he was able to do all that stuff, and all of his buddies were like all kind of shackled down, or at least they would, or shackled down, and at least they would make these excuses to do these things they supposedly wanted to do, but then they just never would, or they would make the excuses and shit like that. So then in the end result is that he, in a lot of cases, is kind of left to his own company, or he was kind of, to that extent, from being able to live that way, he was kind of like, had become like a misfit, basically. Like, he was a misfit from the normal society, which expects you to work one of these jobs, stay in one place, possibly start like some kind of family, and then be held down more by that, even more so. And that kind of just, any of the buddies would just kind of like, oh yeah, if they want to come around, they could and stuff like that. But then if any of them asked you like to do something that was a little bit outlandish outside of that that normal routine that had you become accustomed to, then they basically just like would almost always say like no, basically, or not be able to, supposedly. So yeah, this guy Aaron Clary was becoming basically like a social outcast or a misfit, just from his own kind of success and ways that he kind of made his own sense of freedom or whatever, working for his own little like online company there, and that gave him all that flexibility and shit. But yeah, he became kind of like an outcast or a misfit from that, which I don't know, I just found that kind of amusing, that like, yeah, in a lot of ways, is that once you start living that sort of like more free life and are able to make your own like decisions and not be on the whim of some other man or whatever, based on what they need you to do or what they need you to be there at certain times, you kind of by default, from this perspective of society, become a misfit or an outcast. And I'm sure that this similar thing could be relatable to almost anybody that has like started their own kind of thing or whatever, is that, especially if you don't probably have like a physical place within like some community, especially if you're more of like a mobile kind of person, you are just by default going to start becoming like an outcast and a misfit to whatever communities you might have been a part of beforehand, if any. Or it might be just difficult to even form any kind of like communities with people, because they are all on a completely different frequency than you are, essentially. But I guess that was the main point I wanted to make on that specifically, with just the thing I found interesting is like, yeah, this is not unique to some, like recently, like even years ago, guys were feeling like outcasts and misfits just for doing their own thing like that, trying to make their own business and shit like that. Which is just kind of amusing, but it's like the how easy it is to become basically alienated from all the normal society and stuff, just for doing your own thing, basically. Like nobody else is really doing their own thing. They're so divorced from that concept of making decisions for themselves, besides somebody else making decisions for them, basically. What time they need to wake up, what time they need to go to some place, how long they need to be there, who they're like essentially allowed to hang out with during those times and stuff. It's fucking weird. Um, but I guess the other thing I wanted to talk about was just kind of that concept in general, where you were bringing that up, Billy, trying to, hoping to eventually form like sort of communities and connections with other misfits in the same way. And it's just funny because Rudy and I, or at least I mentioned to Rudy, I don't know if he was really having syncs about that or noticing that until I potentially brought it up somewhat recently, where I was like, it seems like the past few months, just there is like a theme of people now trying to connect with other humans more, potentially likely due to all of the pushing of the stuff like the AI and people just becoming generally more like antisocial and less outgoing and stuff like that. And communities just not like thriving like they might have, or not even existing like they might have decades ago or whatever. But I was just kind of noticing that sort of theme where it was a lot of people were doing that. And I kind of noticed from just other people's like actions, like say these YouTube channels that I'm subscribed to, noticing many more of them than before started to do like live streaming than I'd noticed previously. Like there was way less people at once live streaming during a specific, like during specific days, but now there's like 2 or 3 times more channels of like various topics that are live streaming at any given time that I'm subscribed to, and it's just fucking weird because I'm just like, there is like a reason, there's a pattern from that. There's a reason that there's more people doing that, and to me, I think it is people wanting to connect more with other people, rather than be isolated, I guess. And just generally like other patterns and other stuff I'd been hearing, it just generally kind of seemed like more people are trying to connect with other humans again than was happening, like, let's say a few years back or whatever, where like even the one guy that I talked to that made Daggerfall Unity or whatever, the guy who lives in Australia, he said recently he went from doing full-time development on his game to actively getting I don't know if it's a part-time or a full-time job, but he got a job at some office somewhere doing something. And he said he felt a lot better doing it because he'd been feeling very isolated from his from the years he had been just working on his stuff at home and stuff with his wife, and he'd been feeling isolated. So he decided to basically get a actual, quote unquote, an actual job somewhere at some physical office, to kind of help with that feeling of isolation, I guess. So it's just kind of like these patterns I've been noticing of more people trying to connect with other people again. And just the fact that you brought, and even I've been thinking about it as well, which made me kind of notice. I was like, there seems to be a pattern forming here, and there definitely is. But then just to have you bring that up, Billy, in your video was just kind of curious to me. And so I'm like, yeah, it's very clear that there's a pattern going on there with that kind of actions that people are trying to kind of like do recently. But with that context, I guess, out of hand, yeah, I've been wanting to connect more. I mean, that's even what happened with Rudy and I just like maybe a month or two, maybe a month and a half or a month or two ago, where we started talking. We decided to add each other on whatever Discord, and we started talking on or whatever, typing to each other, and also having some of those voice discussions on Discord and stuff. And beforehand, all we really had was the interactions, the pretty limited interactions through the YouTube comment section and shit, and the community post. Um, so, us doing that, it just, once again, just another example of the patterns that I'm seeing of people wanting to interact with, like, other humans or people that are more, that they can relate to and stuff like that more than was happening a few years ago. But, I've considered shit like that as well. And, like, I've even thought, like, hey, if say, not that I would suggest any of that, like, say, if Billy was, say, here, closer, like, I know North Carolina is not that far away from Jersey, but let's say if Billy was in the same state or some shit, I probably would try to possibly start some shit with you or him or whatever way that I'm saying it right now. I probably would try to start some kind of fucking shit or company or whatever with them. But for me, in the current situation, I just saw one of those fucking stupid cyber trucks. I think it was being towed, hilariously enough. Yeah, like, if that was the situation, then sure. But the way it is currently for me, I don't think it would make any sense for that, just because, for me, at least logically looking at it, it'd be stupid to leave Jersey right now, because right now I live with my parents, not paying any rent or any bullshit like that. So I have a pretty cushy setup going on here right now. And I'm more than likely going to be the executor of whatever estate that they have left. So it's probably best that I stay here in this situation instead of, like, go somewhere else. So, like, for me, that's like, it just doesn't really make logical sense for me to go somewhere else right now. Like, until my parents are gone and whatever is settled with the house and the properties and stuff, until that's all done, whatever my brother and I decide to do, which I have a feeling we're going to probably try to sell the property, the townhouse or whatever, whenever my dad and mom are gone and shit like that. However long that will be, I have no clue. They could be here for 10 years, it could be here for 5 years, it could be here for 20 years for all I know, so it's kind of hard to say. But, if I was in that situation, I would try to probably do that with some person, to some extent, somebody that I can relate to with that kind of shit, has similar ideas or ideals or whatever. And I wouldn't expect you to, like, come out here or some dumb shit like that. Because of your situation, it doesn't make sense either, I think. So it's like, that kind of stuff, connecting. I mean, there's no reason you can't connect with people through just communications. But I have, basically what I'm saying is, I've had those ideas as well, those thoughts. But for me right now, at least in terms of moving away from where I am, it really doesn't make logical sense financially for myself to do that, because, because I'm probably going to be eventually coming back here anyway, if all that stuff involving the will and all that bullshit occurs. So it'd just be stupid. For me, at least. It'd be stupid. So, with that, it's like, I mean, it doesn't also mean that you can't start something with somebody else, not having to physically be there together or whatever for some business or any bullshit like that. But it doesn't mean you can't help each other in that sense, obviously. What was the other thing I was going to... Oh, yeah, I guess that was the main kind of thing I want to talk about, is that, it's not just you that's been thinking about stuff like that. I think there is a very prevalent, noticeable pattern that has been going on recently, within the past few years, the past few months, maybe like past year, maybe at most, where people are trying to connect more with other people and stuff again, which is pretty curious to see people bringing it up and stuff, all kind of at the same times, and for similar reasons. But the other thing I was going to talk about is, like, man, I do not fucking, I agree with you there, Billy. I don't understand how somebody can, like, can live on these fucking wages or whatever in, like, any of these places or whatever, just looking at the pay rates. Just looking at the pay rates and then comparing that to the cost of either owning property, like mortgaging it, or just renting it. It's just all right now absurdly expensive. And like all the other costs, it's not like they're cheap, like the cost of food or anything like that. That's all absurdly expensive too. It's just the biggest outlier is like the fucking the rent prices and the property prices and shit. Like, what was it? I was just like, hypothetically, I was like, all right, what if somebody, I was looking up like, say if somebody was like a fucking just lower end of the fucking totem pole, fucking I don't know, a line cook at some restaurant or some shit. I was seeing stuff like 19 an hour. That's the ones I was seeing, like 19 an hour in Jersey, starting pay or whatever. And so I was like, all right, I'll just knock it up for ease for the sake of ease to $20 an hour. So I was like, all right, if you worked 40 hours a week for 52 weeks, I guess that comes out to 2,080 hours a year of say work hours that you can have on that rate. And you know, I was going through like ChatGPT with this kind of shit anyway. It's not like the math is that hard anyway. But I think it came out to like 38,400 or some shit at that rate. Which is not very much. At least when you like look at the number, it's like that is not very big. That is not a very big number. And $20 an hour doesn't sound like that bad. But then you have to factor in also, say if this person was single, I don't know what the tax difference is if you're married. Let's just say it's half, I don't fucking know. But the income tax in the end would take, at least from Jersey, would be like fucking, it would knock it down to, let's just say, 35,000 a year. 35,000 a year. So then I'm like, all right, well, look up what's the average cost of like an apartment, renting it or something in Jersey right now, or at least my part of Jersey, East Brunswick or whatever, New Jersey. And I think I looked on Willow.com and I sorted by lowest to highest. So supposedly the lowest fucking apartment that I could find at that moment for rent was like $1,835 a month. $1,835 a fucking month for like not even that big of a fucking apartment or whatever. And this is just renting it. And then I was like, okay, so the ChatGPT, it was like, all right, putting in some other costs in there for like food. It was saying like $300 to $400 a month for one person or some shit. Cost of like their internet, their phone plan, electric, gas, other things like, say, with your car, yeah, obviously your vehicle costs and stuff for the insurance, license, registration, all that bullshit, maintaining it, anything like that. If you have like a car payment for the car and all that shit, that was like supposedly $500. Not even including stuff like random repairs that you will almost definitely have at some point. It was like, yeah, there's a gap. There's a gap in the budget. Like, there's not enough. You're not making enough to sustain that. And I was like, wow. So, fucking, not including any potential like government benefits or subsidies or whatever in that equation. Just working 40 hours a week base, you would not be able to make enough money to even afford like the cheapest house or the cheapest rent seemingly at the moment in this area. And then I even like did it for I said, all right, we'll do it for $28 an hour. Like that's a much more that's a fair amount better pay than $20 an hour. So I was like, all right, 28. And even then it wasn't fucking adding up to really that much. Just base. So it was able to afford that, with like a little bit of quote unquote savings after the fact. Like you'd have a little bit of money left over after the fact. It wasn't really that much a month. And then I was like, all right, well, what if you wanted, say, like a townhouse or some shit? The rent would be fucking like $600 an hour, or $600 a month more for rental payments for like a slightly bigger property. And then I was like, all right, well, what if you decided to buy or mortgage the cheapest fucking thing that you could think of, like an apartment or a townhouse or whatever? And it was saying, it was like, all right, like $250,000 for a small apartment. And then like $325,000 for a townhouse or some shit. And both of those could not even, actually, I think there might have been for the apartment, there was like $48, $48 at the end of the month that was left. That was all you had. And I was like, wow, that is fucking nuts. That just how just how down to the brass tacks or whatever the fuck, down to the very edge, somebody even making $28 an hour here would be if they were living alone. They didn't have any other like assistance from like family or from whatever, from another income source and shit like that. And then I looked at like what my dad is getting paid, and I'm like, he's not getting paid that much more. He's getting, currently his hourly rate is $32 and like 28 cents or some shit like that. $32 and like 28 cents an hour. And he's been at his fucking place for 40 years. 40 fucking years, and he's making that much. It's not even really that much. And I was just like, oh wow, so yeah, you wouldn't really be making that much if you just did 40 hours. Like most of your fucking income, extra quote unquote, is coming from fucking overtime. Like overtime hours, and he doesn't really do like the normal rate overtime hours anymore. He used to. Now he mostly just does when they give like Sundays, which they pay two and a half times wage or rate on the Sunday hours. So you know they get 2.5 times. So if they work a Sunday, they basically work 2.5 days worth of money instead. As well as holidays and shit like that, he'll usually work for like time and a half maybe. But just like without that, I'm like, man, there is no fucking way that these people, and my parents, most of what their quote unquote wealth and ability to spend on buying the house that they did here, this townhouse we got, that they got or whatever, almost all that was due to being able to have like a down payment because of inheritance. Mostly on my mom's side, who her like great aunt died. She gave her some money, and I think that's what allowed them to get this house initially. And any of the other credit card debts and shit that they had was almost always paid off by somebody giving them some kind of inheritance or some shit. Like like my grandfather died recently, and I think my grandmother did die a while back, but my grandfather died somewhat recently, and on her side. And that's where they got most of the money to pay off their credit card debts that they had. And now they're back to having like 25,000 or some shit, I think. 25,000 or some shit of credit card debt again. And they're still fucking, and my parents are also getting at least my dad is. My mom just signed up like I just signed her up like a few days ago for Social Security shit. So they're even getting that. And it's just fucking, it just doesn't fucking add up, man. It's just fucking weird as shit. And yeah, I don't know how somebody completely alone could afford to even have a box to like live in, like just a box to fucking live in on a property or whatever, and live on their own with one wage that's like a somewhat, more modest rate or whatever. I don't know how they could do it. Like, the numbers just don't fucking add up. Even if you skimped super hard on certain things, like, it would still be fucking really, really fucking tight. And it's not even factoring in stuff like emergency costs, like, you know, if your car breaks down or you need to get a new phone or some fucking, you know, shit like that. It's not even factoring any of that in. So, yeah. Just wanted to say, yeah, it doesn't fucking make sense. I can see why Gen Z are just basically saying fuck it to owning the idea of owning property, because how can they? The numbers, unless they're just given it by their parents, inherited it, there's like no fucking way that the numbers add up for them in this case to own like any property and shit. Unless they're like the very, 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 even these fucking stupid ass doctors aren't making enough to pay off this horse shit. And then that's not even including the fucking cost that they had to pay to go to stupid ass medical school. 10 years of opportunity cost fucking gone down just to do medical school so they could get paid a pittance more than other people. It's so fucking retarded. And people, this is fine. This is fine. Yeah. I mean, it just shows that I guess in my position I am actually in a very, definitely in a very privileged position relative to others, just living with my parents and shit. But you know, it's not like they weren't in an extremely privileged position either, because almost all of their quote unquote wealth and what they have right now is from inheritance for the most part, because otherwise they just kind of blow their money on gambling for the most part and other bullshit here and there. But yeah, that's I guess that was the main topics I wanted to talk about, and I think I'm ready to start walking home, so I guess I'll end it here, but just wanted to talk about that. But alright, take care, and I'll see you next time. See ya.